So for this make and take, out of your supplies, you will need your Whisper White base cardstock. You will need the 2 pre-cut die layers. You will also need your Real Red label, and you also have a white, and we'll explain why you have the white in a minute, as well as the red. And then what you will have is 3 large acorns, whatever you want to call them, don't know. And then you'll also have 5 of the little ones in the early espresso as well, so there's 5 of those. You will also have 5 of the craft little ones, and you will have 3 large ones. So what we're going to do is be gluing these to here, the little ones to here, and then this layer onto here. But I'll go through that in a minute. In the supplies, you will also have 3 gold leaves. All right, that's what we need for this card. Okay, for this part of the card, what you will need to have is the 2 die cut pieces that are in your kit. So you have the 2 of these. You'll need a silicone mat. If you don't have the silicone mat, you'll need a piece of acetate. You'll also need your multi-purpose Tombow glue, and you'll also need the sponge. I have provided you a wedge of a sponge in your kit as well. What you need to do is take some of your multi-purpose glue, pop it onto the silicone sheet, dab your sponge into the glue, and just pat around to glue onto your sheet. If you need more glue, grab some more. Just need to be careful not to move the actual die cut around, because it will then stick to another part of the other side, and we don't want that. So just gently pat where you need it to go. With a silicone mat, what will happen is the glue will actually dry, and you'll be able to tear it off. So once we have done that, carefully peel it away from your silicone sheet. Take your other piece, and now what you want to do is actually line it up, make sure that you have. What I found easier to do is actually just laying it down one part at a time and just gently pressing, carefully manipulating it and positioning it onto your outer layer. Have handy a baby wipe so that it's easy for you to wipe your hands. It's really more just about the edges of your die, getting your image down. If you need to add a little bit more adhesive, grab your sponge and just gently pat some more adhesive onto the die. Just a little bit more glue onto there. And there we have our die stuck on. So using the same technique, what you're going to do is attach the craft cardstock and the early espresso together. So again, popping some glue onto your craft silicone sheet or your acetate, dab on some glue, and then adhere that to the pine cone. Grab your baby wipe, just give that a little bit of a pat dry, So just pat that a little dry. Do that with all of your pine cones, and then what you will see onto here, it now gets glued onto your die cut sheet. So adding some of your multi-purpose glue and then gluing down onto here your pine cone. Alright, continue on until you've finished all of your pine cones and leave it aside to dry. Okay, so the next part of this card, what you will need to do is get the piece of real red cardstock that has been die cut. It's in your supplies. You'll also need your your embossing powder in white. You'll need your embossing buddy. You'll need your Versamark ink pad, and you'll also need your heat tool. If you don't have any of these things in your supplies, don't worry. In your kit, you will find a piece of Whisper White cardstock that has been cut. And you can now stamp that in your Christmas greeting on the Whisper White. Now, if you find that your words aren't big enough to fit in here, just trim across the two edges and that will make the label a little bit smaller. So the first thing you do is slap on some of the embossing buddy. That will actually just stop any of the extra bits of embossing powder sticking. If you don't have an embossing buddy, just use some talcum powder just to do that. Grab your Versamark ink pad and your stamp with your words on it. Stamp down. Get your embossing powder. Sprinkle on your embossing powder onto your card. Tap off any of the excess. Make sure you put this away so that it doesn't actually heat up any of your embossing powder in the container, just to be on the safe side. And now using your heat tool, heat this up just until it becomes a glossy shine. Don't go too far, just test it and check as you proceed. Also, another tip, just go underneath the cardstock as well. It will emboss and heat up from the bottom, and it also means then the cardstock won't actually twist too much. Okay. So once your card has been embossed, you'll see it has gone from a dull to a shine, and then you're done. Okay. What you then need to do is take your Whisper White base cardstock. You're then going to glue using your multi-purpose Tombow glue. You're going to glue all the bits that you've actually stuck down before. So just turn over at the back, pop glue into the larger sections, and then I use a sweeping sort of motion just to get some of the glue on the outer edges of the ferny leafy bits. You could also use your sponge and the technique that we did before to also do this. So just a nice little sweep for there, and then pop that down onto your base card. Now if any just moves, just reposition it back again. Okay, I'm just using the baby wipe just to tap off and wipe off some of that excess powder. What you will also have in your supplies is some of the gold holly leaf. And you'll have a couple of these in your supplies there. What will happen is you need to get some dimensionals and pop it onto the back peel that away, stick that down just enough so it's not overhanging off the edge of the card. So that means it will still fit in your envelope. And then what you're going to do is use some tear and tape or some mini glue dots. They are found were the best thing for this. The multi-purpose isn't strong enough, I felt. And you're going to stick 2 of your leaves here, and then we're going to also pop 1 of the leaves here. And that is our card that we have now created from our supplies. Okay, thanks.